Hello and welcome back to the channel. Little bit of something different on this little snippet of information. And that is, this one isn't about my journey now, but it's something about someone in the household that I mentioned on my other video that I've done today. And that's why I wanted to keep it separate, because after very and long, careful consideration and discussions, including me and my wife and the person involved, so you know it's not the wife that's on the jabs. It's Dan. Now, for people that have been with us for a long time, you'll know that Dan has had his health issues, and Dan is also special needs. He's 28. He's very overweight. His BMI is approaching 40. He has lots of underlying health concerns. He's on blood pressure medication. He eats terribly. One of the things growing up, that because of his needs and because of how he used to be, we badly were we bad parents, but he to help him and to sort of comfort him, he had a lot of snacks, and he was very and still is food orientated. So we made the decision, with very careful planning and monitoring of him, to start on Mounjaro, which he started 2 weeks ago. And what I wanted to report, and I can report, because it's going well for him, and we sort of really noticed Danny's really food orientated, to the fact that you only have to, he knows what diet means, and you only have to mention the word, oh, we got to cut down, Dan, you got to have a bit of a diet, you're eating too much. He will flip out. He just really enjoys his food, like I did, but on another level. So Dan started having 2.5 milligram jabs on a Wednesday when I'm off work 2 weeks ago, and he's lost a kilo in those 2 weeks, and he's not been snacking so much. He hasn't seemingly had any nasty side effects. He's now eating a well balanced diet. He's not calling for the snacks that he used to do. People with kids with special needs, and I know I've spoken to a lot of people on the channel that are in a similar position to me, these kids, especially as they get older, will go out of their way to get snacks, food. Now, you might notice behind me here, that cupboard there, I've had to put, those locks have been on that cupboard 2 decades. We used to have to lock food away, because in the night Dan would get up and take food. We'd be tidying up his bedroom and we'd be finding food, snacks, and sometimes we had absolutely no idea where he was getting stuff from. And we were just finding empty wrappers stuffed under the bed. We were finding that he was eating stuff and throwing the wrappers out of his bedroom window. There were times, because of, as he was growing up, he'd be going out with carers and things like that, and on day trips and days out and with school, and they would just give in to him as well, and just buy him whatever he wanted to appease him, to just comfort him. And as a result, Dan put on a huge amount of weight. And I guess, sort of, me being the same sort of way, I was food motivated, like going back until I started this plan, really. And we all know what troubles I had with that. So yeah, we made the decision to try Dan with it, because we've tried absolutely everything else. And this is going to sound terrible, but he was referred to dietitians a long time ago, Dan was. And it was just, it didn't work for us. We've also, he was referred fairly recently as well about looking at maybe something like this also. And it just hasn't happened. And I know the problems that people, even without special needs, have about getting GLP-1s for their weight through the NHS isn't easy. So we've just made the decision to put Dan on it himself. His toileting's all been normal. One of the things that Dan suffered with in the past was he used to get constipated a lot, but a lot of that was because of the rubbish food as well. So that's all been fine. Um, he's drinking well. I do his obs regularly before. I'm keeping an eye on his weight because he wouldn't necessarily tell us if there was an issue. He, the way his mind works, that say if he had a pain, he would deny having that pain, thinking that that would go away. So we do have to be really vigilant. And I know there's a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily agree with the decision we've made about this, but we have to take in the whole picture about Dan's health. Now, for those that are in the know about people with special needs and on the autistic spectrum and with all sorts of different needs like Dan has, the outlook for people with special needs like this isn't good for a long life. People with these type of needs don't live to be necessarily a good long old age, because a lot of their diagnoses go undiagnosed. A lot of their issues aren't picked up because they can't necessarily tell you about them, which is why we're pretty on the ball with that. And earlier in the year when he had his seizures, he has seizures. He had epilepsy from a nasty infection a few years ago, actually, when he was still a kid. So that he's got a lot of underlying things going on. But we want Dan to be around forever. Like we all want our kids, to be around. And it became a real concern. And just seeing just how he was just losing control. We were losing control of his weight, and he was quite big. And Dan, I mean, Dan hasn't got capacity necessarily to make decisions for himself. So we've done that for him, and it's all about him having a good, healthy life. So that's where we are with it. Be interested to know your thoughts on this, and also I'm going to keep you up to date with this because I know that there's people out there that are in a similar position with their kids, their family. So if this can be of a help, it'd be interesting to hear back from you. If you've done it before, if there's any tips and tricks and sort of just a way that you've gone about certain things and things to look out for moving forward, it'd be really beneficial to share that as well. Dan's happy to put pics on. I'm not going to show him like I do, where I strip off and show me belly and things like that. But I'm going to I'll put some pics now of how Dan is. You can see how big he's got. Put some kiddie pics on as how he was, because he's a good looking lad. And he's happy to take part in this. So we'll bring him on camera at some time. He's been on camera before. And once you see him, you'll fall in love with him because he's just lovely. So it'd be good to hear some feedback from you guys as to what you think. No nasty comments, because we're doing all this for a good thing, and we are keeping an eye on things as well. Thank you for your time this morning. We'll keep you updated. And if you haven't already and you're interested in following this journey for both Dan and me, drop me a little subscribe and it'll keep you in touch. Have a good weekend. Take care.